books. That kind of service, there is Paramananda, isn't it? That we have no idea of. We cannot even conceive of what that is. Therefore, very difficult to hope for that, isn't it? But Gurudev, so kind that he's giving that thing that we have no idea where it is. We have no conception, experience, realization. But he knows this is the best, the only thing that will cure the disease of all. Everyone is diseased. He knows that. So he knows the only way that disease is going to be cured, is going to get cured, is by this. So he's giving that to everyone. Other Vaishnavas they think, oh, if I give this, then it could be like poison, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's too high. It'll be like poison. But Gurudev's conception is, if you're going to die anyway, better die by this poison than material poison. Better you die by this poison. This is Gurudev's philosophy. From baby, everyone. He wouldn't choose his audience to speak, isn't it? He wouldn't choose. You come to the Western countries, okay, he speaks to the Prabhupada disciples, but we were there. The unqualified, no ones. We were also hearing that Katha. This is how kind he was. He came for the Prabhupada disciples, but he also spoke to us. He also nourished that hope in us. Not only those who are doing sadhana for many lifetimes. Isn't it? That's how kind they are. And the Gurudev is following this line of Param Gurudev, who we are worshipping today. So I pray that this nishta is very, if this devotion like they have, one drop of that comes, then our mind will not be disturbed. I was talking to someone the other day, and they were often sadhakas are disturbed. Devotees become disturbed because they think how unqualified and how they can't follow. They have so many other desires, this and the other. But desires are not going to go anywhere. Everyone's going to live a desire. Desires are not suddenly going to go because I'm chanting Hare Krishna. In fact, they become stronger, isn't it? And you have to deal with a lot more urges than before. It's crazy, isn't it? But the thing is that what happens in the spiritual life, I notice, I'm very new, but I notice that you develop a lack of taste for material things. Isn't it? That seems to be the start, isn't it? So you have no hope. You have no hope. You start looking at material life and material achievements, and you lose hope in that. So you've only got spiritual life. This is what they do for us, isn't it? Someone might think, oh, I still have so many desires, this and the other. But look what they're doing to you. They're taking your material desire away, your hope for material success. They're taking that away from you. And what are you thinking? Oh, after all life working and having family, this and the other, I'm going to go to Navadip, Godru. This is very good, isn't it? Or maybe I have no realization or anything, but a desire to go and be in the Dham, this is topmost. So we don't know, but they're very tricky. They know. We have no idea. I have no idea. I want it now. But they know how they do, isn't it? So Param Gurudev, we take shelter Param Gurudev through Gurudev, isn't it?
Yes.
Then they will help us. They only come here to help us. They have no other job. They can perform their pastimes anywhere else. But why they perform their pastimes here? To show us, oh, come, I can help. Look, there's many reasons. So,
Oh.
Oh yeah, no.
Dandavats.
Radhe Shyam.
I'll take up the tune.
But my fans on Facebook Live.
Like, can you look at top of G?
Okay, yeah, off in the middle.
So before speaking out for my system, Dandavapana, onto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, Nityavila Pravishta Amishnipada Paramahansa Prajaja Chaja Shokana Shishima Bhakti Vedanta, Narayan Goswami Maharaj, and onto our entire Rupanaga Guru Varga. So on this day, very, very early morning, we would go down. I'm thinking most impressionable for me was going down to Vishram Ghat. I don't know if you were there. Why? Because early morning and very new and very chaotic. And no shoes or socks on, and going down the steps there's a little temple and the steps, and there's a madness, and there's people like dive bombing, Dandavapranam, and throwing money here and there, and brahmanas trying to rip you off, and then Tirtha Maharaj is like starting to call out, isn't it, in a chaotic way, and hitting people, and everyone's kind of trying to get into the Jamuna. So we're standing in the Jamuna and holding like a palmful of water and trying not to let it run through your fingers, but you don't know whether you can get some more or not. I know she could understand it. I can't quite understand what he was saying, but you just say Jai anyway, isn't it? And you're standing there trying to get a moment. So I was thinking about that today, because it's actually quite hard to do sankalpa in that kind of environment. And I was thinking, what does that mean, doing a sankalpa? Does it just mean one day and then a few weeks later I've forgotten what my sankalpa was, or I've totally broken it? So is that my phone?
Yeah.
Vince, what's up? Huh? What's up? Yeah. Listen, babe, I'm actually talking right now. Go on. Yeah. No, I know I'm always talking about, but I'm actually talking about Krishna at the moment. All right, it's not an emergency, is it? Yeah, all right. All right, cool, bye. Okay, just what might be an emergency. Okay, so I actually at one time heard that, actually it's also Vishaka Didi. She said that when you make your sankalpa, then you should meditate or contemplate that standing by your side is Krishna. Yeah. And he's listening to everything that you're offering, and you're mentally and heartily endeavouring for, and what you're giving, because sankalpa is like what I'm going to give, and what I'm going to try to do, and how I'm going to be sincere, and how that sincerity can manifest in some way. And so she was saying that Krishna's there, and he's there listening to you, and he stays with you, and everywhere you go he's with you on that in this Kartik month, and listening to you and watching, following you. And then as soon as you break that, he goes away.
Damn.
So I thought that was pretty significant and deep. So I guess number one, don't say you're going to do things that you're not going to do to start with. Another one I thought was, I'm just going to, in the morning when I wake up, just imagine myself there at Vishram Ghat, because it's actually when you get to the Jamuna, it's such a peaceful place. It's like a deeply shanti place, because it's actually Vishram. It's where Krishna himself went to have a rest. And when we did the parikrama, we also went there and went to sleep on the other. Was anyone with me? our parikrama included an hour sleep on the other side of the Jamuna River. So peaceful there, just resting and the bars coming and landing. It's such a beautiful area. So just sitting and meditating on that river in the morning, early morning, and again, every morning saying your sankalpa. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm going to chant 64 rounds, I'm going to do this, that, the other. It could be a small offering. So with that small offering for this month, I'm going to give up tomatoes for you. It's hard for me, but I'm going to offer this. Then slowly we're starting to make this connection that it's not about me. It's not about me and what I want and everything. We've been trained here in the West to have my independence and my desires fulfilled and me. It's actually just putting that to the side and trying to put me off center. I'm going to offer this because as we're here, we give to Krishna one step and he comes 10 steps towards us. So that was I was trying to bring this in to my heart a little bit instead of just going on Sankalpa and then forgetting about it. Also, obviously, today is Param Gurudev's day, and Sita was saying some fascinating, wonderful things to remember that this is a family member. We worry so much about mundane people in this world, don't we, in our families and friends and people that are suffering, that we actually forget people. I want to help everyone, and I forget that people want to help me. And that's Gurudev, Param Gurudev, Bhaktisiddhanta, and our entire parampara. So I was also thinking what she was saying about Param Gurudev, and I was also trying to think, okay, I'll try and say something that's going to be pleasing for Gurudev to hear. So Gurudev, we heard from Sita that Param Gurudev, he took the Siddhanta of Bhaktisiddhanta. He took that in his pocket. He wasn't concerned about all the money and the mat and everything. In fact, they just rented a place. In fact, they didn't even have a building. They rented the place. So that's fascinating for me that he just left a lot, even though it was he managed all the 64 temples in India, and he left them all and rented a place. I just find that so fascinating, and it rings true with our Gurudev too, because he built Devananda Gaudiya Mat, and then just let go of it, and then just built another one. So he was so involved in that temple that we can see how renounced they are in a true way, because they don't care about material objects, isn't it? St. Prabhupada said to sell the bricks and print books. So their preaching mission was foremost, and so he brought this Siddhanta, and especially, gosh, there's so much we can speak about. We haven't got time really, but I'd just like to a little bit look at Radha Vinobihari Tashtakam. And I was wondering if you wouldn't mind to just read the last verse of that, you can find it. Because in this Ashtakam by Param Gurudev, then everything is present in there. All Radha Tattva, all Krishna Tattva, all Rasa Tattva, everything is present. And actually at that time, a lot of people were thinking he's just a manager. Actually, people were thinking that he doesn't know anything. He just knows how to manage things. And they thought he didn't have any Siddhanta. It's so foolish of them. So when he came out with this, and also the Mangalati, also Tulsiati, it really showed his realization. And then a lot of people took their hat off to him for that. So, yeah, go and read the first one. Yeah, first verse.
I worship the lotus. I worship the lotus feet of that form of Sri Krishna, when due to begin beginning thoroughly immersed in separation from Srimati Radhika, who is displaying man, her mood of jealousy and anger. His own dark complexion vanishes and he assumes her bright golden luster. Or I worship the lotus feet of Sri Krishna as he is embraced by Srimati Radhika after her man is broken.
Okay, so in this is just the first verse of this Ashtakam, and it totally shows how he is Rupa Nuga Vaishnav. Because in that, when he manifested his temples, he manifested there Radha Vino Bihari. And the other Gaudiya Vaishnavas thought, we heard our Guru say, that he didn't have enough money to have black Krishna, because black marble was more expensive than white marble. So they thought that Radha and Krishna was both white because he couldn't afford it. Okay, but some that were a little bit more conscious maybe came and inquired why was that, and then we can see in this Ashtakam that he's saying that first of all, first is Radha Lingita, which means that this Krishna who is in deep viraha, separation. So if we look at the pastime of Rasa Lila, when Srimati Radhika saw that Krishna was dancing with all the other gopis and she left, then Krishna became very deep in separation from her. And he went and sat underneath tamarind tree on the banks of the Jamuna. And sitting under that tree, he was so absorbed in thoughts of her. He didn't try and become golden. It was natural. It was natural. He naturally took on her bath and complexion, became golden. So we hear that there's to liken this, you can think of maybe Bharat Maharaj, who was meditating on a deer, and then in his next life he became a deer. Oh, there's also this story of this bizarre wasp, which I can't remember the name, and the terracotta or something, which is this interesting insect. So this insect is in a hole, hiding from this wasp. But he can hear this wasp outside the hole, buzzing. And he's so close that all he's thinking about is this wasp. He's meditating, he's fully absorbed in this, death is coming for him. He's going to kill him, this wasp. So he's totally meditating on this wasp. He meditates on it so much that this insect, who's not a wasp, becomes a wasp. Okay, this is an anomaly that happens in this world, actually. I don't know if you can look it out on David Attenborough's Planet Earth, but it actually happens. So in the same way, as an material example, Krishna was so much in deep separation from Srimati Radhika that he was meditating on her so much that he actually lost that dark sham complexion, which is very interesting, isn't it? Because that's all about enjoying, and that's all about Shingaras, and it's all about Krishna in his original form, and he loses that and takes on this golden mood of Srimati Radhika, which is all about service. So actually, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, fully taking that mood, came under that same tree in Mutala, and also was meditating deeply on this, on Krishna becoming absorbed in Srimati Radhika's mood. So this is the first point, and then the second point of this is the Lingita, which is when after Srimati Radhika's man has broken. Then she embraces him with her vine-like arms, feeling, oh, Krishna is so much in separation from me. And her heart melts and her mind breaks. And she covers Krishna with her golden luster completely from head to toe. And this form was seen by anyone? Huh? Who was that? Wow, 10 out of 10. Rai Ramananda, isn't it? And when he saw Mahabhav, Surupini, was it Rasaraj Mahabhav? So when he saw that form and then fainted to see that form. So this is Radha Lingita, the other reason why Krishna is with the golden color. Radha, Vino, Bihari, this divine form of the deities that are in Shikesha Jigodiyama in Mathura, and also in Navadvip and in his other temples. So he's establishing mood. What is that mood he's establishing? Where he's establishing this Veer Lalit Nayak, and he's establishing this mood of Sardin Bhatrika, Shrimati Radhika, who subjugates her lover by her mood. Her lover is completely submissive to her. So this is the mood of Rupa Nuga Guru Bhaga. And Param he just totally manifested that mood and expounded it and gave it to our Gurudev and Srila Kamar Srila Boma Maharaj. So they fully have the innermost heart's desire of Bhaktisiddhanta, who wanted to establish that, but he was cutting a lot of jungles. So I'm going to stop there because I'm going to hear from Ramananda Guru, but I promised I'd say something otherwise I'd get in trouble. So thanks so much for listening. For bringing me.
Oh, sit in the light.
ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपात्वमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणीं नमो विष्णुपदाय राधिकायै प्रियात्मने श्रीश्रीमद्भक्तिवेदान्तनारायणीति नामिने नमो विष्णुपदाय गौरपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीश्रीमद्भक्तिप्रज्ञानकेशविति नामिने गुरवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकायै तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः. First of all, I offer my most humble Dandavat Pranam unto the lotus feet of my Paramaradhitama Guru Pad Padmom Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajikacharya Ashtotra Shata Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, begging for his causeless mercy, his hearty blessings. Thereafter, unto my Param Gurudev Nitila Pravishna Vishnupad Ashtotra Shata Shri Srimad Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, the entire Rupanuga Gaudi Guru Varga, all Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis, my Dandavat Pranam. I remember Srila Gurudev saying on this day how he'd say how my Gurudev has pulled me out from the ditch of material life. And Gurudev would say how I was born in this place where demons like Jarasandha were born. I'm coming from this very low land, this horrible place. And I'd be thinking, wow, Gurudev was saying that about where he's born. Imagine me. But Gurudev was saying this, how I've come from this very horrible place, from my born. And he would say this with tears in his eyes, like I've really come from this horrible place, and my Gurudev has pulled me out. And taking me away. Yeah, that's how we did it. And then in the end of that class, I remember Madhu Maharaj would get the mic really upset saying, yeah, but that's also the land where Ramachandra went and Krishna went. So it's a holy land. And then Gurudev was like, yeah, they went there to kill the demons. That's why they went there. And Gurudev still was establishing how, but he's showing us the example how really we are also coming from wherever we've come from and wherever we're born, whatever place we are, compared to where the spiritual master comes from, where the Guru comes from, is lowland. I come from Holland, so it's literally lowlands. But Shri Guru comes and saves us in this way. So Gurudev also expressed in this way how Srila Bhakti Pragyan Kishore Goswami Maharaj came for him. If it's him, what to speak of us? How much gratitude we should have for Srila Bhakti Pragyan Kishore Goswami Maharaj. From his, Gurudev would explain already from his childhood, when Srila Bhakti Pragyan Kishore Goswami Maharaj was born, he was given the name Bhim, but his aunties and everyone would call him Jonah or Jyotsna, as Vidhi explained, which is like somebody that's glowing very much. I mean, you can already see it in videos and pictures, but we haven't seen in person. But those who have seen in person, apparently he was very much glowing already as a small child. And his own auntie, Saroj Vasini, was one of the first disciples, or maybe even the first disciple, female disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada. She wrote a wonderful poem glorifying Srila Bhakti Pragyan Kishore Goswami Maharaj. And she gave it to Srila Vaman Goswami Maharaj, who was in charge of the Gaudiya Patrika. But Param Gurudev did not give him permission to publish it, so he had to wait for many, many years. And she kept insisting and insisting, and only after the physical departure of Param Gurudev did Srila Vaman Goswami Maharaj publish it, saying that I'm publishing it, knowing this, that my Gurudev will not be pleased with this glorification of him, but on the insistence of my auntie, because it's really wonderful. If you read the glorification, she's saying that I never understood how amazing Srila Bhakti Pragyan Kishore Goswami Maharaj was. As a small boy, he was always very quiet, very patient, and his character was perfect. He had the behavior of a pure devotee from birth, she was saying. And one of the things was, we all know that he didn't speak for a long, long time. When he was born, for maybe the first 6 months or something, no speaking, no crying, nothing. Only when, was it a Brahmin or someone who said that if you get some rice from another caste family, some prasad from their house, then feed it, then you will speak again. And so they did. And in those days it was very difficult for, because he was from a high-class Brahmin family, to go to another caste that was not high-class or from Brahmin family. You normally don't eat from any other social order. So it was difficult for her to get it. But when she got this prasad, when he took it, he started speaking, started crying, saying ma and whatever else. And then from childhood, when he was very young, Gurudev explained that he would already, nearby their house was an ashram, and there was one sadhu there who was speaking Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and from a child he was already going there every day and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. And then when he went to school, and this is, I think he was 12 years old or something like that, and he started his own magazine. He was publishing, and Saroj Vasini Didi also, she describes that he started one, I forgot the name of the society, he started the society that's after truth, and finding out the truth, finding about God, and he started this society and started distributing a magazine in the school. This is not even high school, so this is just normal 12-year-old boy, normal, already doing this. Oh yeah, and then Gurudev started saying also how even one of the teachers in this, one of the subjects in the school that they had was Chaitanya Charitamrita. I think this was already university actually, so I'm skipping ahead a little bit. Might not stay chronological here. And one of the subjects that they had to learn was Jivera Swarup Nitya Krishna Das, Krishnera Tatastha Shakti Bheda Bheda Prakash. And the teachers were explaining this, but he was not satisfied by their explanation. In fact, he had to stop the teachers and explain it to them. And after, just as we heard from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada in his life, when he decided to give up school because he had come there to teach the teachers instead of learn from them, a similar thing happened here with Srila Bhaktivedanta Krishna Goswami Maharaj. When he had to explain it to them, instead, he stopped. He went to the mat when he was 16 years old. Then he continued studying for maybe another 2 years, and when he was 18, he fully joined the mat. 2 years of staying in and out of school, and then he joined. And Gurudev said that he would speak so boldly, so strongly, so powerful, that he didn't need a loudspeaker. He said nowadays, when we have 2 or 3 people in the audience, we need a microphone. But as you know, those big Bengali sannyasis and Devananda Gaudiya, we've seen, they would be speaking in front of thousands of people, and they actually did not need a microphone because they were so loud and strong and powerful. Param Gurudev was like this. He was given the name Bhim also because he was a bit like Bhim. He was very strong. Gurudev said he was the best football player of his time. He was a great fighter. In fact, even when everyone was joining the independence movement of Mahatma Gandhi, Ahimsa, non-violence, he joined Subhas Chandra Bose. So Subhas Chandra Bose had the opposite opinion as Mahatma Gandhi. He said, take up the sword and go kill the Muslims. And that's what he was doing. Sorry for saying it like that. But he was going out and killing and murdering whoever was in the way, as opposite to Mahatma Gandhi. And Param Gurudev, in fact, actually was on the wanted list with the police for possession of certain weapons and certain things like this. And by having stayed with Subhas Chandra Bose for a while, don't worry, even though he was wanted, he gave up this because he already had met Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, and he joined the mat. He was living in the mat, and it was maybe 10 years later that the police finally found him and were going to go and arrest him. They found him inside the Gaudiya mission. And then Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur, he went and spoke to them and said, yeah, but look, that's 10 years ago. He's a sadhu now, look at him. And Prabhupada convinced them, and they didn't arrest him, they let it be. He didn't have the weapon anymore, so it was all good, it was all sorted. So Gurudev was saying how Param Gurudev was very let's get back on that later. Gurudev gave one explanation of Param Gurudev's how he's not disturbed. Gurudev said he saw with his own eyes when he established the parikramas, and he had many different magazines, and one of them, I forgot the name of that one, but he would have Srila Vaman Goswami Maharaj would write down while Param Gurudev was speaking, and Gurudev would say that there would be parikrama going on, there could be thousands of people sitting around him talking to him, but at the same time he would be quoting something for an article to be written in one of the magazines, and Srila Vaman Goswami Maharaj, like Ganesh, Gurudev said, would be writing down exactly what he said. And Gurudev said the beauty and the speciality of this duo of Srila Param Gurudev speaking and Srila Vaman Goswami Maharaj writing is that there were no mistakes. Whatever he said, without having to look at any book, Srila Vaman Goswami Maharaj would write without any mistakes, and it would go straight to the press. And Gurudev said, we on the other hand, in his humility, we have to look at thousands of books to check for reference of everything that we want to say, and if it matches and if it's correct. And then we have to go through editing, spelling check, this check, that check, and then fidelity check, and God knows what other checks, and then we print a book. But with Srila Vaman Goswami and Param Gurudev, there was no checks. He spoke, he wrote, boom, straight to the press. And Gurudev said this was something very amazing and astonishing that he saw in Param Gurudev. That he never had to check any book. Everything he needed to know, he knew straight away. And Gurudev said, Srila Trikamaraja himself used to be very talkative. Like they would always, Srila Vaman Goswami Maharaj was very quiet. As you see him, Gurudev said, now he was like that back then also. Quiet, not speaking much, only when necessary. But Gurudev said, me and Srila Trikamaraja, always arguing, always fighting, discussing many different topics. And then we would go to our Gurudev and say, and start our fight in front of him. Oh, I think this, he thinks this. And then he said, sometimes Gurudev would, entertain it and speak with us. And if it would get too much, he would just say, go read this book and send us away. But then Gurudev said, nowadays, devotees don't discuss any Tattva Siddhanta. They're only discussing about which clothing they are wearing, or what's going to be for prasadam. and similar topics. When devotees get together, they only talk about these things, but they don't discuss Tattva Siddhanta like I did with Sri Trikrama's video was saying. So one time, this poem from Suraj Vaishnavi is amazing, but I can't read it because it's too late. But it's really amazing how she's glorifying Srila Bhakti Priyan Kishore Goswami Maharaj as a pure devotee, as an ocean of mercy coming to save the fallen souls. And she's, it's just her nephew, but it's amazing how she's glorifying him. She's even saying in this poem how even though I am like his auntie, Parambuddha would Srila Bhakti Goswami would call me sister. We had a brother-sister relationship because really we were both the disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada. So even though on a material level we were auntie and nephew, still we were like brother and sister in our relationship with Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, and so one time Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, he was sitting in the mat, famous story, and he was speaking about this dream that he had, that one day he will open mats all over the world. He will do parikrama of the globe. There will be temples in America, there will be temples in England, and there will be 64 mats in India. And this Krishna consciousness movement will spread all over the world. And Saroj Vasini, she was there, and she said to Prabhupada, "Oh, but Prabhupada, at the moment you don't even have enough people to ring the bell when the God Arti is being done, when the Arti is being done. So why you're imagining things, you're dreaming." And at this time, who will do this? Yeah. And then at this time, Prabhupada, he pointed at Vinod Bihari Brahmachari, saying, "Oh, he will do it." And so it came to be, he in fact became in charge of all the 64 mats. And then he is the one who gave sannyas to our Srila Prabhupada, who then came to the West after receiving sannyas. And our Gurudev, who came to the West also. If it wasn't for Padma Gurudev, then he wouldn't. So this prophecy, this prediction, this dream that Srila Prabhupada had and expressed at that time was in fact made true by Vinod Bihari Brahmachari. And we are eternally grateful to him for doing this. There is one story of, because Sita Thakurani was speaking about Srila Bhakti Swarup Siddhanti Goswami Maharaj, how he came forward straight away when Padma Gurudev left to help with the Samadhi ceremony. There's a beautiful relationship actually between Padma Gurudev and Srila Bhakti Swarup Siddhanti Maharaj. And Gurudev tells this pastime at least twice in Parikrama, because we have Padma Gurudev's day and we have towards the end Bhakti Swarup Siddhanti Goswami Maharaj's day. So we hear this pastime twice in Kartik, which is when one time they went for collection and they had collected a big bag. There are different versions of the story, but there was a big bag and sometimes there was a small bag, sometimes not. But definitely there was a big bag. And then they would argue who would carry the big bag. Padma Gurudev would say, "I will carry the big bag because I'm senior, I'm older, and you're a younger boy." And he was saying, "No, because you are senior, I should carry the bigger bag." And like this they would argue. And in the end, Padma Gurudev would somehow manage to convince him, "No, I will carry it." And he would carry it back all the way from Howrah station all the way to the Kolkata Mat, which is a very long walk. I don't know, 15 miles? 5. Anyway, long walk. It's very long. And then, Gurudev would say, nowadays, we fight for the smaller bag maybe. So anyway, they have a very sweet relationship. And one very beautiful pastime that Gurudev also liked is when Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada would send out his boys for collection. Param Gurudev would go out with this collection box that only had an opening for putting 1 paisa. The opening was so small that a rupee wouldn't fit. Only a paisa would go. So his disciples would go collecting like this. And one day, in the hot burning sun after collecting, Param Gurudev, he lied down in a field under a tree and he used his collection box as a pillow. And he was lying down in the hot afternoon sun for taking rest. And Param Gurudev was in a car coming by, and the driver told Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, "Oh look, your disciple, Vinod Bihari, is there, taking rest, lying down with the collection box as a pillow." And seeing this, Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada got tears in his eyes, seeing his disciple going through so much. And he was thinking how these boys, he was saying how these boys have come from such high-class royal families, the cream of society. We would hear this statement a lot about Prabhupada's disciples, and now they are out struggling for me. So after when he came back to the mat, Prabhupada asked him, "Oh, are you experiencing some difficulty, some pain? And Param Buddha is saying, no, I'm experiencing the greatest happiness because I'm going out, I'm doing this for you as a service to my Guru. My Guru Seva is foremost, most important for me. Like a complaint even came about Param Gurudeva from other disciples saying, oh, because he was spending a lot of money. Because he came from a royal family, I don't know if that was the reason, but whenever he would take a rickshaw, for example, he would give the rickshaw driver,
I know the reason.
what's the reason?
After. Yeah.
He would give the rickshaw more money than what the actual fare was for the travel. And with the boat, for example, you have to wait for the entire boat to fill up. He would just give the boat owner the full fare for everyone to get on, and then he himself would get on and then go, so you don't have to wait for it to fill up. And this way he would do his service really quickly and not waste any time. He didn't want to waste any time. And then somebody came and complained, saying, oh, Prabhupada, he's wasting all the donation money. And then Srila Prabhupada said, what did he say? He said, oh, you don't understand, he's coming from such a high-class family, royal family. From where he comes from, this is nothing. He's spending, but he's also bringing so much. You're not bringing anything, and you're complaining about spending, and something along those lines. For him, this is nothing, and he's doing it for service. Did you want to... Oh, that was it. Oh, phew. So, and why are you complaining about the wealth? So, his relationship with Prabhupada also very intimate, like Sita said. Gurudev told this one story that even when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada would be asleep, he was one of the only ones that would actually come, the only one as far as I know, that could come into Prabhupada's room, even at 2, 3 in the middle of the night, and go inside and go and take rest. And even others would complain, why he's going inside? But Prabhupada never complained. He could go into Prabhupada's room anytime, whenever he wanted.
Actually, I heard him knock. I heard he would knock, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would get up and let him in.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah, try that, doing that now. So, very sweet and very wonderful relationship he has with Srila Prabhupada. But also, very strong and bold. Srila Trika Maharaj gave him the name Acharya Keshari. Also, not in this Pranamantra Namo Vishnu Padaya, Acharya Singha Rupini. He gave him the name Acharya Singha, a lion-like Acharya. And we see this in several occasions, but there's this one occasion where his mother actually asked for him to come back home twice. Send a letter to Saraswati Prabhupada. Can you please send my son back, because we have some tenants who are not paying their rent, and if you could send my son back home just to fix it, I promise after that he can come back again. So Prabhupada told him, oh, can you go and sort out the tenants? So what he did is, he went back home, and what it was on the property of his father had already passed away, so the mother was taking care of the land. He in fact had 3 other brothers which were very, very qualified. He was the youngest brother. His oldest brother was also a very great scholar. All of them had degrees and were wonderful, great, amazing personalities, but for some reason or another, his mother called for him to come and sort the situation out. And when he came back, what he did is, he found out that none of the people on the land of his mother were paying the rent. So he found out that there was one, let's call it the ringleader. There was one specific person who started all this, like, let's not pay rent. And everybody joined in. So what he did is he got some of the workers of his on the land together, and they got this guy, and they tied him to a tree. No, that's the second story. That's another one. Dragged him by horse. Somehow he got him, and he got him beaten up, okay? He got that guy beaten up. Made sure that he got beaten up. And because he got beaten up, everyone else started paying their rent again. Situation sorted. This is sound a bit shocking maybe, but it's completely normal in India, don't worry.
And also it's explaining how he is Keshari.
This explains how he's Keshari, which is a lioness, isn't it? Yes. Do you want to finish off?
Because the lioness, she actually hunts. It's not the lion.
Oh.
The lioness, she hunts and attacks and kills the prey, and she's very ferocious. But with her own cubs, she is very soft. So he was ferocious when it came to Upper Siddhanta, Mayavadis, not pain or anything that is incorrect behavior. Is kaka. But those that were close to him, those that wanted to take shelter of him, those that were following him, he was very kind and soft. Like they say, like hard like a thunderbolt, but soft like a rose. So he had these qualities. So it's not that he's just violent.
Yeah.
Because when he did that, isn't it? Sorry to interrupt.
No. Go on.
Because when he did that, then everybody then started paying the rent.
Yeah. And it goes back.
Sometimes you have to be strong. Otherwise, the whole of all the Gangamatas would be like hippie places. Sometimes you need both. You need to be strong, also need to be compassionate. He had this qualities. He had perfect.
Yeah.
He knew exactly when to be strong, when to be kind.
One time, Gurudev asked Kinshal Maharaj to speak on Param Gurudev because he had actually seen. He actually saw Param Gurudev.
Right, exactly.
So he asked him to speak and to share a few pastimes. And then he was speaking on how Param Gurudev was very funny, and he was telling some certain stories. Like, he said that he asked Param Gurudev about Ganesh Puja because in that period Ganesh Puja was going on. And then he said, Param Gurudev explained to me what Ganesha means. It's actually a name of Krishna, and this Ganesh Puja that everyone does is completely useless. And he was telling many different stories about Param Gurudev. But one of them, he said that he noticed that he would also massage him, I think, and he noticed at night time when Param Gurudev was asleep, even though he would be asleep, his tongue was still chanting Hare Krishna. That he said, with my own eyes I saw that he was chanting, and he always would give me so many sweets. And he said that Param Gurudev would give me 2 kilograms of sweets every day. You hear Uma Didi laughing in the background, like, are you sure 2 kilos every day? Are you sure about that? He's like, yes, 2 kilos every day. And Gurudev was also cracking up laughing. And then he told the story that one time he was sick, and medicine was given to him, it was stored in his room, and he was supposed to be taking this medicine, but he wasn't taking any of the medicine. And he returned the medicine to the doctor saying, I don't need your medicine. And he was completely fine. So he told like that a few stories here and there, some random stories, and Gurudev was happy. It's a wonderful glorification of how he was sweet. But another incident is, so when he came back to the Mat, after this happened, the land of Prabhupada, a similar situation had happened there, that many Muslim tenants were there living on the land, and they were also not paying the rent. And this is when the jackfruit tree, he got the head person not paying rent, tied up to a jackfruit tree, beat him up, didn't kill him, just beat him up. And then they all started paying their rent again, so situation sorted. Then the second time, his mother again asked for him to come back. And this is when she was at the end of her life. She's saying, I'm about to die, I would like to see my Vinod Babu one more time, my son one more time. Please send him back one more time. And then Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, he told Param Gurudev, please, your mother is about to leave. She wants to see you one last time, go and see her. And after receiving this instruction, he went and hid in his room or some other dark room, and he was just sitting there and chanting. He didn't go. And after a while, Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, knowing, he asked one of his disciples to go find out where is Vinod, see if he has gone to his mother's house or not. And then this brahmachari came back and reported, oh, he's sitting in his room, he's hiding, he didn't go, tell him to come to me. And then he was called, and then Prabhupada asked, I instructed you to go, why have you not gone? And Param Gurudev started crying, Gurudev explains. And he said, after so many lifetimes, I have come to your lotus feet. So many births I had, so many different fathers, so many different mothers. You are my eternal father. Next life, previous life, I don't know which father I had, which mother I had or will have. But if I lose this opportunity of being with you, I don't know when I will get that opportunity again. I don't know how long it took me to get to you and how long it will take again. Because if I would have gone to my mother who was on her deathbed And if she would have said to me, oh, now I'm going, nobody else here is qualified to take care of the land, please you stay, take care of the land, marry and maintain the land, how will I be able to deny my mother's last wish on her deathbed? And then I would have to stay. And then I would lose your association, lose being with you.
It's very righteous, isn't it?
Yes, yes, very. Always, even in his articles, like his heart is really coming out in his writing. Like this thing about when the pure devotee is placed into samadhi, and we're all accepting that the body of the pure devotee is eternal, but he's saying, but all of us inside our heart, we really think, really, is he eternal? Then why are we digging a hole and putting him in the ground? Deep inside our heart, we have this doubt. How can he be eternal if we're sticking him in there in the ground? If we're burying him in the ground? This is really hard, isn't it? And he's bringing out, in so many, I was reading his letters as well, how he's really speaking from the heart. And so honest.
Yes.
So honest. No duplicity.
No.
Like he's saying even that we think these things as well. We also think, how can our Guru be eternal if we dig the hole in the ground and stick him in there? How can we think he's eternal? We don't, but we pretend. We all put up a show.
Oh gosh.
So he's quite, he's really intense. But anyway, going back to the other story, what was the other story? His mother. Yes. And so he said to Prabhupada, I cannot go back. If I go back, I don't know if I will be able to come back. And then Prabhupada was very pleased. Don't know, embraced or what happened. And then he stayed. So, Srila Bhaktipriyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj's life as a disciple, exemplary. One very specific incident that we also hear twice in Parikrama, specifically the first day and the last Ekadashi, is when there was one disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada's, something Nemi Maharaj, who was very eager to go and take darshan of Srila Gaur Das Babaji Maharaj. And Srila Gaur Das Babaji Maharaj at this time was actually staying in a public latrine, in a toilet. He had locked himself inside there because he preferred the stench of the toilet than the stench of materialism. And he didn't want to be bothered by people of this material plane. And so he could stay in there and chant in peace. Because if he was outside, everybody would come, Babaji, Babaji, oh great saint, please give me your mercy. And generally when materialistic people come and ask for mercy, what they actually want is relief from suffering. Please, help me finish my degree, help me, validation, help me, did you say wife? Help me buy a boat, whatever it is, wife, anything. So instead of having to deal with all these things, he said, you know what, I'm just going to lock myself inside the toilet. Nobody's going to bother me there. And I can do my bhajan. In fact, the deputy who came, the politicians or the people in charge, I don't know the exact names of them, they all came. And they knocked on the door and said, Babaji, Babaji, please come out. We will make a special bhajan kutir for you where you can do bhajan. And he's like, no, don't want any of these things. At least please come out. And he's like, no, I'm too weak. I'm not well, I can't open the door. And nobody managed to actually convince him to come out. Or open the door. Nobody bothered to break it open and just take him out, I suppose, as well. So he just stayed. And didn't open the door for anyone. But this specific disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada who wanted to go, he took some devotees with him, Saroj Vasini being one of them, and Param Gurudev, Vinod Bihari Brahmachari. Was he still Brahmachari at this time? He also went. And when they came there, same thing happened. When they were knocking on the door, Babaji Maharaj did not want to open the door. But then when one of them said, I don't know if it was Param Gurudev himself, he said, we are the recipients of Prabhupada's mercy. We have come on the instruction of Srila Prabhupada. Then immediately the door opened. And he took them in and closed the door again. And then Gurudev explains that Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj gave his blessings to Param Gurudev. The blessing that all the obstacles that you will have in your preaching, in your bhakti, I take all these obstacles away. And Gurudev said many times when obstacles would come in Gauri Vedanta Samiti and establishment and many other situations, Gurudev said that he remembers Param Gurudev remembering, oh, this is due to the blessing of Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj that we have overcome this obstacle. I remember Vishaka Didi saying that this blessing that Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj gave to Param Gurudev is not just staying with him, it's not only for him. This blessing continues in the Guru Parampara, and whoever connects themselves to this Guru Parampara Like if we receive initiation from a pure devotee in this line, connected to Srila Bhakti Priyanka Goswami Maharaj, this blessing of Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj also comes to us. It's not only for him, it's not only for the great acharyas, for every single soul that comes and connects with this. So we can also connect. If we connect to Gurudev and in this way to Param Gurudev, this blessing from Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj is also ours. So that's a very beautiful thing.
Doesn't mean that there won't be problems and obstacles.
Oh no. Because so many problems with this. Yeah, so I hope that keep that clear. The problems will be there, but it's easier to overcome. And I will finish with this. Srila Bhakti Pragyana Keshava Goswami Maharaj, he wrote, because it's Disappearance Day, and usually on Disappearance Day, we are sad because a person has left this world. And if somebody dies, normally we are very sad and we have grief, bereavement. We come together and we sit together and sad. I remember how wonderful that person was, and try not to laugh and definitely be sad, right? But Param Gurudev, he explains that Vaishnava Charitra Sarvada Pavitra. The Charitra, the life history of a Vaishnava, is Pavitra, pure. In fact, every single thing that a Vaishnava does is pure. And he says, I have to read it because I can't say it exactly. Yes, he's saying that if the leaving of the Acharya, leaving of our Gurudev, and leaving us in an ocean of sorrow, if we see this also, if we think that he's left us and we're all left behind here crying, why did Gurudev go? Why did he leave us behind? If we have this mentality, then Bhanu Gurudev says we are attributing a fault to his character. We're saying Vaishnava Charita Sarvada Pavitra. But if we say Gurudev has left me, we are attributing a fault to Gurudev's character. We are seeing fault in Guru. Why would he give pain to us? In fact, Vaishnava, especially Param Gurudev, we've seen how he was helping as child already when his mother was going to beat him, and turned out he was helping someone. And in school, how he was helping people, making these groups. And Srila Trika Maharaj wrote this, Atimartya Charitraye Swashritanam Chapaline Jiva Dukhe Sadarthai. He's seeing the suffering of the jivas and giving Nama Prema. He's seeing suffering in everyone, and he wants to give them love. He wants to save every single jiva. So why would he then drown everyone in an ocean of misery and pain by leaving? So this he explaining, we should not understand that the leaving of an Acharya, of a Vaishnava, is actually trying to force us to be in pain and suffer. In fact, we call this a Viraha Utsav, when this is a festival of separation. Why is it a festival? There are several explanations. It's a long topic, but to keep it in short is, in the material world, happiness and distress are opposite, are not the same. Happiness and distress are completely different, opposites. But in the spiritual world, Pandava explains, they are not one, but they
Complementary.
They are like two sides on one path. Happiness and distress, meeting and separation. There's one path, and there are two sides of the same, two sides of one coin, or two sides of one path, and one nourishes the other. The separation nourishes the meeting, and when you're in meeting, the anticipation of the separation also nourishes the meeting. So both are necessary. In the same way, the appearance of the Vaishnava makes the disappearance glorious, and the disappearance of the Vaishnava makes their appearance glorious. It's difficult to explain all that. But Param Gurudev, he explains this in one article in Separation from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, and how separation, I mean, for us it's he's leaving this plane, but really when they're going to the spiritual world, there's a big festival where they receive them back in Goloka Vrindavan. And when we're experiencing separation, which is not something we can really feel, because Param Gurudev also, being very hard person again, he's saying, when Srila Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta was here, we were all so immersed in happiness, seeing his beautiful smile, seeing his beautiful eyes, seeing his long arms reaching to his knees, how he would give his blessings, all his behavior, also the same thing that we remember of Gurudev. Seeing all these things, this wonderful behavior, giving blessings, giving chastisement, all these things we miss, and then we feel separation, we think. But he's saying, what is he saying? The displeasure we experience when our enjoyment is curtailed cannot be called viraha. So what we experience is a displeasure. Gurudev is gone now, and we don't feel. I can't enjoy him anymore. We were actually enjoying his presence. It was nice. It was really fun. The festivals, and now we cannot anymore. And actually, Paramita goes even further, because we see Gurudev's beautiful form. We see his blue eyes, his beautiful sika, his beautiful cloth, and Buddha said this. Paramita is saying the pleasure that we're deriving from seeing him is not vira, but in fact is even lust, because we're enjoying his presence. So how to really feel separation? How can we really feel separation and not enjoy Sri Guru? Then Param Gurudev says, the only way that one can actually experience viraha, separation from a Vaishnava, and not just be depressed about him not being there or miss enjoying him, is, sorry to say this, but he says that one and only way is complete, full self-surrender to that Vaishnava, Atma Nivedan. If one is fully Atma Samarpan, has fully offered their heart and soul to that Vaishnava, only then can one feel separation from that person. Otherwise, it is not possible. And then he gives the example. But Paramita gives the example of one person. He doesn't take his name. He said there was one brahmachari who was very sick. He got a contagious disease, and one of my disciples came forward and he took care of him, risking his own life. He's talking about our Gurudev, but he's not taking either of their names. But he's saying he came forward and risking his own life, he took care of it. And we know also Gurudev saying that Srila Trikamran said to our Gurudev that because you went and took care of Ananga Mohan Brahmachari, who had tuberculosis, and Param Gurudev was himself taking care of him with his own hands. And when Gurudev said to him, no, I will take care, you continue your preaching. And Gurudev, at the risk, and he actually even got tuberculosis himself as well, but still went and served this Brahmachari, who was a dear disciple and servant of Param Gurudev. Because he did this service, he took his life in his hands, as Gurudev always said. He was ready to give his life in the service of his Gurudev. This is Atma Samarpan, this full self-surrender. And
This is really dasam and dasam.
Servant of the servant. Yes. Servant of the servant of Sri Guru. And then he gave another example. And then he said, sometimes Gurudev also will give us a test, very mercifully. So we heard this pastime many times when the Prodamaya situation happened, where the mobs attacked the Parikama party. But now Param Gurudev, he's telling this pastime from his own perspective. And he's not saying that I came forward and saved my Gurudev. He said, mercifully, my Gurudev came forward and gave me an opportunity to serve him, knowing that I have this necessity, that is necessary for my disciple to do some service. So I'm giving him opportunity. So he's coming there forward, and then Param Gurudev is saying so many great stalwart, scholarly great disciples of Prabhupada, his personal secretary, all of them were there, but they all ran away. But he mercifully gave me this opportunity, and there to save his life. But really, it was all just him giving me an opportunity to serve him. So this is this Atma Nivedan. If we can fully surrender our heart, and we always hear from Gurudev 1,008 times how Guru Nishtha is the backbone of bhakti. And if anyone is the personification of Guru Nishtha, Srila Bhakti Pragyana Keshava Goswami Maharaj, in his life he showed how Guru Nishtha is the backbone of bhakti. And if we pray on this day that we can have, because if we have no backbone, Gurudev said we cannot sit, we cannot move, we cannot do anything without this backbone. If you want to progress in bhakti, and that's why today, being the first day of Kartik, if you want to do anything in this Kartik month, if we don't have this Guru Nishtha, then everything, literally everything, offering a ghee lamp, everything we do will be useless. It's a heavy statement, but it will be useless if there is no Guru Nishtha going along with it. Some Sukriti may will be made, and some piety will be there, but bhakti will not be attained. It's impossible to get bhakti without Guru Nishtha. And so today is a very special day, and we can learn from Param Gurudev. Hopefully one day, hopefully today, get some of this. I'm just checking my backbone right now. Really good. Okay, there are many other things I wanted to say, but I already went over time. And I'm just going to finish with praying that on this first day of Kartik, so many wonderful things happen in this month. Gurudev would on the first day always give a whole list of how many Vaishnava acharyas, like Srila Bhakti Sarup Siddhanti Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj in the beginning, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Rantirika Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Randvaman Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Swami Prabhupada. So many acharyas appeared and disappeared in this month. So many pastimes happened. Mother Yashoda bound Krishna in this month. Gopa Astami was in this month. Krishna went out cow grazing for the first time this month. Saradiya Ras starting tonight. Dancing on the hoods of Kalia. So many wonderful pastimes of Sri Krishna and Srimati Radharani all happen in this month. And Anand Muni has given a benediction that whoever remembers all these pastimes in this month, forgot what the benediction was, but he's given them. Huh?
Yeah, in those holy places.
Oh yeah, in those holy places. Remembering those pastimes will very quickly. Yeah. So this is a very amazing, wonderful, powerful month. Everything is double boosted, good and bad. So we are very lucky, very fortunate that we are alive. Oh, you want to ask something?
Yes. I have heard that the Kartik month somehow is a Radharani's month. Can you explain that?
Yes. So Gurudev says that we all worshipping Damodar in this month as Damodar's month, but really Krishna's month is Purushottam Vrat, Purushottam month, and we call this month Urja Vrat. Urja literally means Shakti, power. And if you look in a dictionary, also it's called electricity, but which is also power. This is her month. Gurudev says it's a big secret, but we should never forget. I was hearing this today actually. We should not forget, even though we're doing many prayers to Krishna this month, really we should not forget this is Radharani's month. Kartik means also Radharani?
Yeah.
Oh. Kirtida, Kartik.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's her month really. But it's more in a secret way. Not everyone knows this. And obviously Gurudev was fully boosting this off. But yes, to answer your question. So if we can all take a vow today, Kartik Vrat, that make some promises. I mean the list.
It's Damodar, we worship Radha Damodar.
Yes, we worship Radha Damodar. That Damodar is bound by the love of Radharani, cannot move, cannot go anywhere, fully in her control, this Damodar. So if we can make a vow that we want to also serve that Damodar, which is Varshabhanavi Daita Das. We want to be servants of that Krishna, who is actually the beloved of the daughter of Rishabhanu Maharaj. Not just Krishna, but the Krishna is the beloved of the daughter of Rishabhanu Maharaj, through Srimati Radharani. That's our relationship with Krishna. Even in Parikrama, Gurudev will say, when we come to Varshana, he said, now we have come home. This is our place. We are from here. When we were there in Nandagaon, this was in our in-law's place. But this is because we belong to the camp of Srimati Radharani. And we always very strongly established that in Brajmandal Parikrama. So we take a vow, and there's many external things that we can't do. There's no shaving, there's no eating many different types of seeds and oils and tomatoes and mustard seed. There's no soap apparently as well.
Sorry?
No deodorant for a month. No, I'm joking about deodorant. But there's a whole list, you can find it online in the Parikrama book. But there's also many positive injunctions where we accept. Sleeping on the ground is one of them. Attending Mangalarti, living brahmachari life, only taking prasadam. I mean, you can all check for yourselves where you're at and what you can add onto your spoon before it breaks off. But yeah, you add many positive things to it, and then they have a double or triple effect when you do them, especially in this month. Offering a light in this month is very important. But all those things need to have this Guru Nishtha foundation, this firm faith in Gurudev. We're doing this for Gurudev, we're doing it for his pleasure, that we want to attain what he wants us to attain and not our own personal agenda. Our agenda should be the same, Atmasat, the same as Gurudev's. And then he wants the best for us, we want the best for ourselves, we want to be happy forever. He can make us happy, nobody else can. So go Pramanande Hari Hari.